The Jewish Achiever Awards aims to recognize some of the most exceptional talent and standout performance of the most remarkable people in our country. These are substantiated by communities in which we operate. We at Distell, who happen to be the largest South African-owned distributor and manufacturer of premium spirits, cider, and wine, are absolutely proud to be associated with these awards. On your arrival tonight, you might have tasted one of our globally most successful whiskies, Scottish Leader. But for the awards tonight, we've selected a true jewel in our stable of brands. We've selected something which is fitting not only of the award winners, but also of the people who jointly celebrate in their success. It is only apt that an award in the honor of the late Chief Rabbi Cyril Harris, who was in fact a true Scotsman, that we've selected one of Scotland's finest single malts as the award. Bunnahabhain Islay Single Malt is a rare Scotch whisky. It's unchilled filtered, which gives it slightly extra depth and character and flavor. Also, being not heavily peated makes this approachable whisky something which truly embodies the gentle taste of Islay. On each of your tables tonight, you'll be able to experience the wonderful 12-year-old. This golden liquid is truly fresh and aromatic, gives a bit of fruit and nuts on the palate, and gives a full-bodied, lingering finish. Each of the award winners tonight get to take home the 18-year-old Bunnahabhain, something slightly more aged. But tonight, for the Humanitarian Award, we've chosen one of the rarest in our collection, the 25-year-old Bunnahabhain. Bunnahabhain is one of those brands that I can honestly say finds its spot in my bar at home. It's one of those that is used or pulled out for special occasions, celebrating like tonight. I feel privileged to be with you all this evening to celebrate those amongst us who choose to go beyond the call of duty, to give a little bit extra and go beyond the norm. Please help me in welcoming on stage Mr. Adrian Gore, the CEO of Discovery, as well as Stefan Kosef, the CEO of Investec, to announce the winner of the Humanitarian Award this year.
The 2017 Humanitarian Award in honor of Chief Rabbi Cyril Harris. The winner is Pravin Gordon.
I remember Pravin Gordon as a Natal Indian Congress and United Democratic Front activist when I was 18, coming to my home, showing and demonstrating the same brilliance as he does today, and we all know about him, about the South African struggle then and the South African reality today. You know, how can we take it forward and make South Africans' lives better?
The way he's overcome obstacles has been in the most remarkable, statesman-like way. I've never heard him critical of individuals or of anything. It's always been about the collective good, the positive outcome, the country, the deep sense of patriotism. And so every obstacle I've seen him tackle, and a lot of it has now become public, has been in the context of what's good for the country. Positive, never personal, never bitter, quite the opposite. And I think that is a remarkable, very, very special individual.
Pravin was a very disciplined Minister of Finance. He ensured that there was fiscal discipline against very negative odds. I think he took over just post the financial crisis, and that was a very tough time for the world. And you know, he was trying to navigate very, very difficult waters, and he always stood up against any form of misuse of public funds, and was very outspoken, and he took a lot of personal risk in so doing.
Pravin was a colleague. He headed up the revenue services when I was the Director General of the Treasury. He was always very clear about what needed to be achieved. His integrity, his principles, his leadership was without question. We worked incredibly well together, and he led a great team at SARS. He built SARS actually, and he built a revenue services which was not just a phenomenal institution in South Africa, but has been a world-class revenue services. He knew what needed to be done, and it was always about the interests of our country well above the interests of the individual or his own personal interests, and I think that was the mark of Pravin Gordhan.
From my close association with Pravin in capacity as a member of the steering committee of the CEO initiative, many people come up to me and ask me why it is that Pravin is not a candidate for president of South Africa. You know, he's someone that the public, when you go out into restaurant malls, you go into various public fora with him, people crowd around him because they want to express their admiration, they want to express their appreciation for everything he's done for South Africa. He's a great South African.
You can't tell him what to do. He is a pragmatist and he'll make sure that things, you know, work. He's quite left-leaning, and I think on that stuff I would have had many arguments with him over time. But, you know, just straight down the middle. And he plays with a straight bat, so what you see is what you get.
Well, the CEO initiative was called by him soon after he was reappointed as Minister of Finance. It was actually started out as just a kind of a brainstorm of CEOs and broke down into 4 work streams. It is intriguing in the sense that I thought they were kind of wish lists and ideas we had, but I think through Pravin's kind of steely-eyed, determined nature, they became hard streams with hard deliverables, and amazingly now have the ability to really change the country.
We were making great progress. Clearly on the 31st of March he was removed as Minister of Finance, and that did upset everybody on the initiative. We've had to recreate it now, but he certainly did a hell of a job in getting everyone together to try and do the right thing for the country.
Pravin, many congratulations on your award. I could think of nobody who has committed themselves so much to freedom in South Africa who deserves this greater than you. In my mind, you belong to the halls of Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Joe Slovo, and our greats. And I hope that you are going to continue to provide this leadership to South Africa going forward.
I used to call you Mr. Minister, but now I have to call you Pravin. I think that you've done a great thing for our society. Hopefully that you'll still be able to play a role in government or in civil society that will continue to help make a difference so that we can achieve that goal of creating a much more inclusive society in South Africa, that we grow and develop as a country, and that we achieve the objectives that we dreamed of at the end of apartheid. I'll call it Madiba's dream.
There's no parting message. I'm hoping that our friendship and working together and working under him continues in some way. I think it's gratitude for what he's done.
So Pravin, you know, you've made huge sacrifices for this country. We are immensely privileged to have people of your caliber, and a huge thank you. From me personally, from the bottom of my heart, a very big thank you. And Trev and I love you and Vani and the kids very, very much. Thank you for everything you have done for us.
So let me dedicate this award to the Treasury team, to the good people at the Revenue Service, the team at the South African Reserve Bank, and all good public servants who every day try to do their best to keep South Africa on the right road. But the right road is a difficult journey to travel, not only in South Africa. As you saw from the introductory video, you know, that you have these phenomena called Trump and Brexit and tweeting of the wrong type. I'm not sure how many of you look forward every morning or evening to the tweet from Washington, but and the events that you see which still reflect the tense state of race relations in the United States, as we've seen over the last 48 hours. And on the other hand, you've got the Macrons and others, and the Kenyan elections that we've just had. But above all, what we have in South Africa, we're not a country which is depleted of good people, of phenomenal work that we've done over the last 20-odd years to give people basic things like education, health, housing, access to land, access to services, and obviously need to do a lot more to ensure that there is access to economic opportunities, a subject that Stephen and I debate every time we meet. He'll call me left. I've never called him right. But we're also a country, I think, that has lots of good people who are in various types of leadership positions, a country that has remarkable resilience. It's got people who have the foresight to understand that some of the things that are going on right now isn't in our current interest, nor is it in our long-term interest. And those are issues that we need to deal with in as courageous and as an engaged way as possible. In other words, these are not issues that we can leave to people who are called politicians. These are issues of the people. These are issues that actually require, and I know it's foreign to the culture of some of you to march, you know, but you all have, what do you call these things? Techies, eh? Or techies, wherever, depending on which part of South Africa you come from. And engage in one or other kind of sport. Or engage, as many of you do, in the community outreach programs, which begin to make a real difference in people's lives. And a lot more of that can be done from a community that is extremely resourceful, that has great skills, great talents, great entrepreneurs, some of whom are standing here with me, and has produced fascinating freedom fighters from which my generation and Ivan Pillai's generation learned some of our politics from, and some of our principles as well, in terms of what is right and what is wrong in our country, or indeed in the world at large as well. You have many people who are in the professions who can actually make a difference. Of course, you don't want to be caught on the wrong side of a trillion contract. So the current times in our country, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, require leaders in business, in the trade union movement, in community organizations, certainly in our professions, who are capable of changing the culture, the way we do things, the way we see things, and to ensure that whilst silos, cultural silos are important, because it gives us a sense of identity, gives us a sense of meaning as you get tonight. But equally, as we build a new South Africa and a new nation, we also got to find important bridges across those silos. And that requires the kind of people of foresight that I was talking about earlier on. And as I said, this is a community that certainly in the organization we come from, in the ANC, in the Communist Party, has produced illustrious people, people who've contributed to the Freedom Charter, which stands as a testament to real imagination, foresight, but above all about humanity, and stands proudly amongst the charters of the world today, and certainly informed the basis upon which our Constitution has been crafted. But perhaps one of the discussions we can have, it's a bit difficult over single malt whiskey. I don't understand whiskeys, just let me declare that as well. But let's have a discussion, because the kind of South Africa we need to work on for the next 10 to 20 years is one where some fundamental structural changes are required. One where we build on the strengths of the last 25 years and maybe the strength of the last century as well. But at the same time, admit to ourselves that we need to do things differently. We need to reach out to each other differently. Our economy needs to look different in 20 years' time. More inclusive, a lot more contributory towards raising the standard of living, but above all, the standard of dignity of all South Africans, all 55 million South Africans as we have them today. We also need a structural change in our politics. Our politics needs to be informed again by the kind of spirit, the vision, and the magnanimity of the Mandela generation, where leaders can haggle, yes, as we frequently do, Mr. Maimane will tell you, in Parliament, but there comes a time when you've got to go beyond haggling, where you've got to ask yourself serious questions. If we are a collective of leaders who have to chart a different path for this country, what's the exceptional thing that is actually required of us? But some of the structural changes we require also is an extreme intolerance for poverty, an extreme intolerance for inequality, an extreme intolerance for corruption, as we daily see through the various leaked emails and other phenomena that is actually taking place. State capture is a reality. It isn't a figment of somebody's imagination. But to counter that, to dilute its effect, and to ensure that we go back on the democratic path, it's going to take a humongous effort from all of us. And so we need to search for a new inclusivity in our economy and society, a new unity of purpose, despite whatever differences we might have, as we did demonstrate during the 2016 period, as Adrian and Stephen pointed out, when this team of trade union representatives, government and business representatives, in a very short period of time, did some remarkable things in respect of ratings agencies, creating a better investment climate, but above all, creating some basic level of trust that enables us to explore ideas together and ensure that we contribute in the right way to producing the kind of climate in South Africa that will reintroduce investment, both from South Africans and from foreigners, where we can proudly say this is a country, despite the rumbles that we are going through at the moment, is one that will give you good business returns, but at the same time, a country that is heading towards a real achievement of the National Development Plan. Once again, thank you very much for this award, which I proudly share with the people that I've mentioned. Thank you very much.